Story 1. I am not enough, smart enough, strong enough, or loved enough. However, every day, I am learning that those doubts do not define me. Story 2. My hairline is full at the center and back, but the sides are thinning and my forehead is large. It is not receding. It's just inherited from my parents. Story 3. I feel overweight. My mental health is a concern. I do not earn enough. I do not provide my wife with the life she deserves. And it continues. Story 4. My intelligence is unique. I'm not lacking in intellect, but I recognize that my brain doesn't operate as efficiently as it could. I struggle with mathematics, and reading takes me a bit longer than usual. Due to some mental health challenges, I often feel overwhelmed. As an artist, I understand that creating effective work requires knowledge of form, shape, perspective, color theory, anatomy, and lighting. I also possess an understanding of science and history. Unfortunately, intelligence is often measured by performance in mathematics, literature, and problem-solving, areas where I may fall short. However, my ability to draw a realistic dog or my understanding of the evolution of mental health is often dismissed as merely a party trick by some individuals. I am aware of my capabilities, yet when faced with basic math problems, I sometimes doubt myself. Story 5. I have a high intelligence, a unique perspective, and a compassionate nature. Story 6. Being mentally ill is challenging. It's hard to believe anyone would want to be around me when I keep getting myself into so many difficult situations. It's important to understand that I'm not failing due to a lack of effort. My brain is just wired differently. Story 7. My weight. I am 25 years old and 5 feet 4 inches tall. I cannot control my height, but I can do something about my weight. I weigh 52 kilograms. I need to make an effort to gain healthy weight. Story 8. My body. I was active at a professional level for much of my early adult life. Once I decided to leave and change careers, I did not practice the same habits due to the consuming nature of the new job. I am now working on achieving balance. However, it is challenging not to see myself negatively, as even coaches used to say I was overweight when I am 6 feet tall and weighed 180 pounds at the time. Story 9. I used to feel insecure about my size, but it turns out most women really don't care as long as you treat them well and are willing to explore other ways to please them. Story 10. I have good common sense and can learn fairly quickly, but I struggle to retain information, which often makes me feel inadequate. Story 11. My arms are pretty muscular since I do a lot of physical work, and I fear they look too manly. Story 12. In my personal life, I tend to be very antisocial and unmotivated. I used to indulge in substances and alcohol, but I have quit everything now and am trying to improve. Story 13. Most of my insecurities stem from my ego, particularly regarding my body image, my face, and my stomach, especially when I feel more bloated than usual after eating. However, I believe my biggest source of insecurity is my own thoughts. I tend to overthink for hours in a loop, and I'm uncertain if it will ever stop or if I will ever experience that kind of peace. Story 14. I am about 5 feet 6 inches to 5 feet 7 inches tall, and I am male. My biggest issue is that sometimes I am not in the mood to interact socially, which makes others in the room feel awkward. They may start to think that something is wrong or that I dislike them. The truth is, I sometimes lack the confidence to engage in conversation. Story 15. As I get older, the bags under my eyes worsen, probably because I'm sleep deprived. It's at the point where I can't even cover them up with makeup. It makes me feel like I'm 50 at 30. Story 16. The way my body moves. I have a disability that affects my left arm, but the rest of my body follows the awkward movement. Story 17. I don't think I'll ever stop feeling bad about my body, even though there's nothing actually wrong with it. It's just not big or curvy. It's hard for me to work on it because my dad pressured me to. Now it feels like I'm only doing it to please him. I feel uncomfortable when I think about it. Story 18. My love handles. I don't know why, but my body just stores fat there, regardless of my hips. When I was skinny, I had no hips but larger flanks. When I gained weight, I developed more hip definition, but I still had more flank. It's frustrating because whenever I see appreciation for love handles, it's always tied to big, beautiful hips, which I still don't consider myself to have. Story 19. My thighs and the soft areas on the sides of my hips, I absolutely dislike. I've lost about 12 kilograms lately, and none of it was from those areas. I look slim from the side, but from the front, I feel that I look very wide. Story 20. Not worthy enough for love or friendship. The general indifference of people leaves me feeling overlooked. People tend not to respond or seem to forget about me. I'm always the one who initiates conversations or suggests activities, constantly feeling like I'm chasing after others. I often feel useless, as if I am the fifth wheel during the rare moments when people do think of me. Story 21. Penis size varies, and for 9-inch penises to exist, some individuals must fall below the 5 or 6-inch average. The issue is solely mine. None of my partners have ever complained, and I am willing to engage my hands and face in intimate moments. It appears to be the only form of body shaming that remains socially acceptable, yet it is something no one can change. Story 22. Penis size is probably in the lower range of normal. I have been told it is nice, but I felt like that was an obligatory compliment. Story 23. My family has pointed out my weight and body hair. People I consider close highlight my intelligence and strength. My ex-partners have said that my appearance is not enough to attract them, and everyone has commented on my unique fashion choices. Story 24. I have small hands. I am not a small man. My dad is about 5 inches shorter than I am, but his hands look like baseball gloves, cartoonishly large and muscular. I'm taller and bigger, but I definitely got my mom's hands. They are thick but delicate looking. Story 25. That even if I make history, I'm not going to contribute to the world. I actually considered suicide once. Story 26. I sometimes feel insecure about not being enough, wondering how I come off or if I said something odd. I'm learning to be okay with being myself, though. Story 27. My skin is clear, and I rarely experience breakouts, but I do have sensitive skin. I have darkened areas on my knees, elbows, and groin, and the worst part is that I cannot wear shorts or skirts, even with my uniform, because of the many scars on my legs. I am grateful that I have not experienced any breakouts and that dermatologists have complimented my face, but even removing my shoes for school activities is a big deal for me because I worry about what others will say. Story 28. My stomach has been a source of concern for my whole life until I heard people say that tummies are cute, which I agree with. It has been many years of judgments about physical appearance and hard work to look better, all for nothing, basically. Story 29. That one day I will finally take my shirt off at the beach and a seagull will mistake my nipple for a cereal. Story 30. My weight. I'm in a considerably better spot now compared to 5 years ago, having lost about 90 pounds. However, I still see the overweight child from high school, unfortunately. I am not discouraged, though. Story 31. Until now, my dark complexion and the acne scars on my face have affected my self-image. I have become more comfortable with it over time, but there are still days when I feel uncertain about my appearance. This insecurity has been with me since I was younger. Story 32. Everything about my appearance, my ability to be a good husband, my qualifications and performance at work, and my parenting. Story 33. Physically, the size of my arms makes me look smaller. I am tall and fit, but my arms make me appear slight. I didn't develop enough skills early in life that require years of practice to compete effectively. Additionally, I have started new activities too late to catch up. Although I am skilled, I often fear that I am not competent enough to be useful in any area. Story 34. From my experience with love, I have none. In terms of my preferences and my body, I am not as thin as the beautiful girls in my class. I am plump, although I am working on my body. Story 35. My stomach after 2 cesarean sections. I work out 4 to 6 times a week and am in great shape. I eat well, do not smoke, rarely drink, and I still have loose skin. It is difficult to tone. I just want to wear a 2-piece and feel confident. Story 36. I often overthink how I come across to others. Even after a conversation goes well, I replay it in my head, wondering if I sounded strange or if I said too much. Story 37. My tattoos have left a bad mark and serve as a reminder of many mistakes, but I am getting them covered up to start a new chapter. Story 38. I am a man with very petite features. I have smaller hands and wrists than most girls and children. It's hard not to feel insecure about it. Story 39. My eyes feel very sleepy. One eyelid is hanging just above the lower half of my pupil, while the other lid is right underneath. Story 40. No, they don't say anything, but I feel like I have nothing to show as well. It's more about me wanting them a bit bigger, just a tiny bit. It makes me feel different. I don't know how to explain it. Thank you. I wish you a happy life too. Story 41. My confidence has always been a struggle for me. I often wish I didn't have to talk or socialize, as a quiet existence seems peaceful. Story 42. I have a decent procurement position in the public sector, but many of my friends have jobs in the private sector with many perks that I often feel jealous of, even if they don't necessarily earn significantly more than I do. For some reason, I have not been able to secure a position in private industry. Story 43. My breasts have deflated after losing some weight, and I didn't even have large breasts to begin with. Story 44. My body, honestly. I'm barrel-chested, so any weight I carry immediately goes to my belly, and I dislike the way I look. I know it's my responsibility to make that change, and I am trying. Story 45. Airlines are always welcome to cancel your ticket and pretend that it is not their fault. Story 46. The music I listen to. I can't have my music too loud because what if someone doesn't like it or judges me for it? Story 47. Nothing. I'm not a chronically anxious child. Who cares what other people think? Half of them can barely read at a high school level. Why would their opinions matter? Story 48. To be honest, I wouldn't say I'm insecure about my stomach because it's totally normal. However, my thighs, chin, and face fat really frustrate me. Story 49. The gray hair and patches on my beard, my paler complexion, and my shorter legs alongside a long torso result in large thighs and buttocks, making many clothes fit awkwardly. Story 50. My cankles are a concern. The rest of my body is fit and petite, but my ankles are thick. It is frustrating because I work out daily and follow a healthy diet. Unfortunately, I have poor genetics when it comes to my legs. I have seriously considered ankle liposuction. Story 51. I have dark spots all over my body from scars. I am overweight and struggle with talking to people and acting like a normal human being. Story 52. Most of the things I do involve creative projects. Last year, I went on a trip with my class, filmed a lot of footage, and created a video from it. When I presented it in class, I was physically shaking. Story 53. Turning 40 and having a double chin makes me look closer to 50. I'm getting plastic surgery to fix that, so hopefully I'll look great afterward. Story 54. I have good common sense and can learn fairly quickly, but I struggle to retain what I learn, which often makes me feel inadequate. Story 55. Everything about me, to be honest. From my height, as I am very short for a man at 160 centimeters, to how I look, my body type, and my intelligence. I live in constant anxiety about what if one day, my wife, the person I love the most, leaves me because she finds someone better. I fear that with my life, and it drives me to treat her the best I can possibly do. But at the same time, I am afraid that I am not enough, never enough. Story 56. Having returned to education at 30, I compared the quality of my work to that of an 18-year-old just out of college. I have just completed my second year of university with satisfactory grades, so it is not as bad as I thought. Story 57. Weight, height, and acne are my concerns. While many people don't think I look overweight, I am heavier than most people I know and taller than most guys I know. I feel like I can never stop picking at my forehead, and it makes my skin worse. Story 58. Whether I will be able to do what I say or fail to carry it out, back it up, or have it not work out in the first place. Story 59. The fact that the causes of my poverty are clearly visible to everyone, And the level of it is not my fault in any way, shape, or form. People will still try to say, you don't have any competitive nature and you're in this position because of your own choices. And you're a loser. My mother said that to me yesterday. Imagine the person who harmed you repeatedly telling you, while you are suffering as a result of their actions that had no justification, that you caused their behavior. Think of it like a woman being blamed for being assaulted because of what she was wearing. Doesn't make sense, does it? Story 60. My body is overweight and I used to be in great shape. I let myself go due to undiagnosed depression and the worry that I am not a good enough father to my son and not worthy of his wonderful mother. I have been in a difficult place for some time now, and I hope I can fight my way out of it. Story 61. About my walking style. People used to comment that I walk like a girl model and suggested I would surely win a modeling competition for walking, but only for girls. That's why I used to notice it all the time. Now, however, I really don't remember how my walking looks. Is it natural, or am I faking it? Story 62. Just everything, I guess my intelligence, and to an extent how skinny I am, even though I eat a lot each day. Story 63. I don't know how to always be useful. And if I'm not useful, what good am I? Why would anyone want me around? Story 64. My voice and what comes out of it. I spoke quietly and more effectively before I worked at a factory. Then I had to learn to speak at full volume all the time and to be crass and overly expressive. I am 5 years out of that job and still cannot always turn it off. Story 65. Public unrehearsed speeches. I do well enough writing my own, but to come out strong is a gift I have never had. That requires more than passion for the subject matter. Story 66. Being single at 27 while all my friends are getting married and having children makes me feel like I am not where I should be in life. Story 67. I have gained a lot of weight in the past 2 years. I weigh 200 pounds, while my husband weighs about 125 pounds. We are the same height and I feel insecure standing next to him. Story 68. My nose and the way I laugh are notable. I also think I talk too much, which might irritate others. The problem is that when I stop talking, no one says a word to me. I wonder if I am important to the people in my life. Story 69. Everything. Specifically, my torso. I don't know why, not because of the weight. I don't really mind that. I only have one friend I'm comfortable being shirtless around, and that includes all family too. Story 70. How to best protect my family. I have never been political throughout my life. I prefer to watch politics as a game and remain outside of it, pointing fingers at those who take it seriously. This time, however, feels different. There is something in the air. I travel the world, and I have just returned from 3 weeks in the Middle East. More importantly, I have just come back from a week in Mexico City. I did not meet anyone in Mexico City who was not a supporter of Trump. A smart young man with money told me he was certain that the Biden administration was making secret deals with the cartels, which is why they support anyone willing to stand up to them. They believe that person is Trump. The Pax Romana represented 200 years of peace that advanced civilization more than at any other time in human history. During that period of dictatorship, life was really wonderful and peaceful, if you were a Roman. For the sake of my family and future generations, if America is going to be a dictatorship, do I not want to be a Roman? Before you ask, no, I will not rebel. I will not be a foolish Frenchman dying on a barricade in 1832. Story 71. My stomach has a peculiar roll of fat that sits below my breasts, creating a second pair. This is my biggest insecurity because I have never seen another woman, regardless of weight, with it. According to my doctor, I am at a healthy weight, yet I still have it. Story 72. My appearance, my 5-inch penile structure, and whether I will be able to please my wife in bed with it, the acne scars on my shoulders and back, and the acne on my face. The fact that I wear pretty much the same 4 or 5 outfits week to week. Story 73. I wish they were smaller. I want to buy a bra under $150 and be able to wear whatever I want. Story 74. My muscular facial features include a wide jaw and high, prominent cheekbones. I have an inverted triangle body shape and a flat build. It hurts when someone asks me if I am gay after I have spent hours getting ready. Story 75. Confidence with the opposite gender is something I struggle with. I often feel insecure around some men, whether in personal relationships or professional settings. Story 76. My body feels unsatisfactory. My abdomen is large, my thighs are large, and my butt has a lot of cellulite. My arms are also large. Even after losing weight, everything still feels oversized. I understand that it's mostly loose skin, but it bothers me. I wish I felt pretty. I know it's vain and I dislike that mindset, but I struggle to gain control over these thoughts. Story 77. My social skills, specifically whether or not people accept or approve of me, are honestly really tiring. Story 78. I am a cashier and love my job. However, if the register did not indicate how much change to give the customer, I would be out of work. I have never been able to do the math in my head. Story 79. Being worthy of love. I have never had problems attracting women, but just about every relationship I end up in turns out to be ruinous in the end. My current relationship contains some of the best memories of my life, but it is at an all-time low at the moment, and I am afraid of what is to come. These are the times I think maybe I am somehow not meant to be with someone, even though it's the one thing I truly want. Everything else I have going for me. I am financially stable, and given the current economy, I am really thankful for this. I work a job I really like, and I have some amazing friends. Still, there is this one aspect of my life I just can't seem to get right, while I have to watch everyone else get married and become parents. Story 80. I remember back when everyone in my school year was starting to get spots on their faces and thought nothing of it. It's normal. Fast forward to last week. I graduated from secondary school and noticed that basically everyone no longer had any acne except me. I only have acne on my chin and around my mouth. If it were a bit more spread out across my face rather than concentrated in one area, I would feel less insecure about it. Story 81. I am 19 years old, and nobody seems interested in even just hooking up with me, let alone dating me. I feel really unattractive. Story 82. I feel overly socially awkward for someone who is almost 40. My social skills never recovered after COVID. Story 83. My girlfriend of 6 months broke up with me 3 weeks ago. I'm not sure what I did wrong, and I feel like I won't find that connection again. I know that's irrational since I've experienced breakups before, but I just feel so lonely and inadequate. Story 84. My toe thumbs. Even worse, everyone thinks clubbed fingers and brachydactyly are the same thing, so everyone wants to diagnose you with liver issues or something. Story 85. It's a bit strange, but I realize how fortunate I am. Everyone I knew as a child seems unhappy. This makes discussing life feel awkward when they view everything negatively. Story 86. Any aspect of your life, whether it pertains to physical appearance, relationships, financial stability, or professional skills. Story 87. My arms are pale. I started to lift weights, so they are improving, but I am still pale in Florida. I don't mind being pale, but I notice comments about it, with people always suggesting that I should tan, which I don't want to do. I'm just extra aware of how I look. Story 88. My legs. I have chronic lymphedema in my right leg, which is quite noticeable. I am susceptible to cellulitis infections from cuts and scratches, so I cannot shave my legs. This situation can be discouraging in terms of beauty for a woman. Story 89. I'm not good enough for someone to stay long-term and want only me, especially with social media making monogamy seem harder these days. There are temptations everywhere, and for someone who already struggles with insecurities, it makes trust difficult. However, I am getting better at this and realize that my overthinking sometimes causes these feelings. I found a good person, but it can still be tough to worry. Story 90. My personality is such that I sometimes wish I were more extroverted and outgoing, but it's just how I was built. Story 91. My body looks slim, and I sometimes feel terrified about how I appear in certain types of clothing, but I am getting better at accepting myself. Story 92. I have a light stutter. It isn't severe, and I don't typically get stuck on words for long. However, in ongoing conversations or group discussions, it can be challenging for me to jump in and express my thoughts. I've become accustomed to letting my thoughts come and go, often giving up on speaking them because of this. I feel frustrated with people who habitually talk over others, especially those who mock my stutter. It's never just a joke for me, and when people apologize but continue to interrupt, it doesn't help at all. Story 93. I can't form deep relationships with anyone because I have too many secrets, and I can't let anyone see who I really am. I have no real, true deep friends or romances. After about 5 minutes, people lose interest in talking to me. Story 94. I feel like being overweight ruins everything, and the worst part is that I am truly trying to lose weight but still get bullied. Story 95. This question made me realize that I have been underestimating the sheer amount of insecurities I have all this time. Now, the number of insecurities I have has become an insecurity itself. Story 96. My lack of dating experience. I am not like some repulsive individual or terrified of women. I actually get along with women very well in non-romantic contexts. However, I struggle with anxiety that makes it nearly impossible to make the first move and undermines my confidence. I feel that when many women look at men my age who have never been on a single date, it is understandable to wonder what might be wrong that causes women to stay away. This only exacerbates my anxiety and lack of confidence. Story 97. Not a whole lot physically. I think I'm very pretty, but I have a lot of health conditions that make me look pale and sickly all the time, and it kind of ruins it. Oh, and my breasts. There's nothing wrong with them. I just don't like having them. They feel wrong on me. My fingers are covered in scar tissue from years of biting. I guess I'm more insecure about my appearance than I thought I was. I'm more insecure about my complete lack of social skills, though. Story 98. I'm a Penn Badgley lookalike, and people often say, "Don't take it personally, but you look like Joe Goldberg." I always take it personally because it's often followed by a rant about how he's a bad casting choice for being too unattractive to be so successful with women. There are also jokes about me possibly being a dangerous person. If I go along with the joke, people think I'm a creep. If I don't, they find me even creepier. Story 99. Sometimes I don't like my chin. I am extremely introverted when it comes to approaching women. I feel that I really need to work on that. Story 100. Being poor, being overweight, having no friends, overeating, my weight, not doing enough, my face, my stomach, my scars, my handwriting, my skin, and my behavior. Story 101. I have a crossbite that affects my smile, causing me to only bite on one tooth. I have consulted orthopedic surgeons, and they estimate it would take 2 months to remove the wires holding my mouth shut after the procedure. I am unsure if I can manage this while attending school and working. Story 102. I had already taken a month's worth of gym membership, but I'm scared to go. It's a women's gym, and I had been there for a month last year. Now I have paid again in the hopes of hitting the gym consistently. However, I feel anxious because they know that I am an introvert. I worry that I might do something awkward. Story 103. If I am enough for my family. I work in a very well-paying, high-stress, high-performance job where people's lives are often in my hands, and one significant mistake can either kill someone or seriously harm them. I try to give my family the same attention I give my work, but I feel like I regularly fall short. My wife always tells me that I am an amazing husband and father, but between my own insecurities and how her family treats me, I feel like I am not doing enough. Story 104. My intelligence and weight have always been a concern for me. I've struggled in school and have failed almost every class I've taken. I don't consider myself stupid. I just wasn't suited for the traditional school environment. Regarding my weight, I know I'm not overweight. I am 5 feet 2 inches tall and weigh around 104 pounds. But unfortunately, I've been told by people my age that I am fat. A few years ago, I got sick and dropped to 86 pounds, yet I still face similar comments. These experiences stick with you forever. Story 105. My face, no matter how much I try to lose weight, is still puffy like a balloon. I am trying to compensate for this with a good body and confidence by going to the gym. Story 106. Honestly, I feel like I'm too much and not enough at the same time. I often overthink something I said 3 days ago, but still feel like I'm not speaking up enough. It's strange how your mind can uplift you and undermine you in the same sentence. Story 107. As a woman, I don't have the expected childbearing hips that many girls have. In fact, I have a straight vertical line from my waist to my thighs. I am the only woman I know with this body shape. Both my mother and sister have rounded hips and a tiny waist. When I was young and skinny, it wasn't a big deal since I had a very small waist. But now that I've gained weight, it feels unbearable. I cry myself to sleep most nights, knowing that I'll never feel feminine enough. Story 108. My height and my stuttering are the first two things that come to mind. Thankfully, I'm not extremely short and I don't stutter too much, so there is still a bit of hope for me. Story 109. My existence. I am a 25-year-old, weigh 185 pounds, stand 5 feet 4 inches tall, and I am of Mexican descent. I cannot grow any facial hair, and to top it off, I am a DACA recipient, which makes me feel unwanted even in the United States. Story 110. Most things in life can be challenging. I struggle with my weight and feel that I am not attractive. At almost 30 years old, I have never had a significant other due to my insecurities. I question the value of a relationship when I am struggling with self-acceptance. I have never felt that it was the right time for me to start dating, and at this point, I assume that I never will. Story 111. My voice and face were usually too sweaty. I remember once in class, someone made fun of me for it, and everyone laughed. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.